I'm going to give a couple of minutes more before I start. If anybody can confirm that you can now see my screen, and then if people want to go on mute, that would be awesome.
This is Pam Young. I can see your screen.
Thank you.
Vilma Zaladon, and I can see your screen.
Awesome. So I'll give it one more minute, and then I'll go ahead and get started. As everybody can hear, we're recording it, so once it's recorded, it will be posted to the virtual user group website, so that if anybody does miss it, they can always go back and get it there. To kick today off, I will say as well, we are planning to have these tips and tricks sessions once a month, and we are looking for feedback from anybody who is on this call as to additional topics you would like to see us present during these calls. And so if there's something that you would like to know more about with regards to TransIT, probably the best thing to do is to email support@makesolutionsinc.com, or you can email Angela@makesolutionsinc.com directly, and then that'll help drive what we do in these sessions. I'm going to go ahead and get going. I'm going to do the same as we did last time, go through a few slides, and then after the slides, we'll go into the tool and then open it up for questions. So for anybody who's not aware, late this spring, we put in some new functionality into TransIT, and that functionality was with regards to the scenario headers. And what's the functionality? If people can go on mute, we're starting to get a lot of feedback. What that new functionality does, it allows information entered into the scenario details to be pulled into the test script automatically. And it can do that before testing, during testing, or after testing, meaning that if you update something in the header during a round of testing, it immediately populates the test script. So the most important example of that during the testing would be your MRN or your FIN or your case number, something that you don't know what it is until you start the round of testing. If you go in and you update those numbers in the header during the round of testing, they then become available. The other main benefit of this functionality is for updating things in the test script that you might want to change between rounds of testing. So a lot of times people will not have time between rounds of integration testing to clean out their database, or they're still troubleshooting something in the first round of testing. So they might want to use a different set of patients for the second round, and it's always a pain in the neck to go in and update the test script. Now, instead of looking through your test script for everywhere the patient name was listed, you can do a single update in the header, and it'll auto-populate through the test script. And we'll be able to show that here. So it seems like there's a lot of people joining, so maybe I'll just take a little pause and wait till the beat stops. Okay, so to make use of this functionality, the first thing that you need to do is add information into the header. So I think everyone's aware of how to do that, but to do that, you would click the header link, and it brings up this screen, and then you would click Edit Details. Once inside there, you go in and you update any field in there, and when you update that field, it becomes usable in the test script. And if it's something like, for example, in the screenshot here, where there's baby name and a second baby name, you reference them as baby name or baby name 2 inside square brackets, and that's how you pull it into your test script. I was hoping we would have the code available today in production to show you the latest thing. At the top of the scenario details in the demo domain that I'm going to show you today, we have the ability to also pick a dashboard display. And this is something that a couple of the clients who are on this call have requested in the past, and that's where we always have the patient name in that second column, they ask for it to be configurable, and it is now configurable. So what that allows you to do is, for example, you could start out in week 1 of integration testing, having that second column display the patient name, and then in week 2 of integration testing, when you're doing all of the revenue cycle components, you could change it to display the MRN there. Or you could just change it routinely to have the MRN, or whatever other field you want to have, whether it's the FIN, or if you're not even doing CIS testing, if you're doing testing, for example, for your staff scheduling system, then you might want to have the employee ID there. Or if you're doing testing for your general ledger, you might want it to be the GL account number. Now, some of those fields you might say, gee, I don't remember seeing those in the scenario detail headers. Again, we can add any fields that any client requests to the scenario detail headers. All you have to do is email that support@makesolutionsinc.com, and we're happy to add in additional fields. So once you go in and you add information into your header, the second step would be to add tasks that already have the scenario details built in. And by that I mean, we've gone into the global content and we've added in information like social security number where it's there. You see we have the SSN in square brackets, or sex where we have the sex in square brackets, or the date of birth where we have DOB in square brackets, etc. When you update the tasks and pull those into the scenario, they automatically pull information in from the header. The third thing then is to add tasks to scenario where details in brackets. You can see here where it's in blue, where instead of it being something that was automatically in the content, where I'm now adding it as I'm building the test script. So for example, you can see I'm pulling in employment information here, and I've stored in the employment information, in the first field of the employment information, I've stored the employer number, and in the second field of employment information, I put in the employer address. In the third, I put in the work phone number, and that allows me to pull that in during the round of testing. Greater examples of this would be people are routinely using FIN and using FIN like this in the blue, as opposed to step 2 where it's automatically in the content. So we didn't go through and update FIN in the content anywhere because many scenarios have more than one FIN. So in those cases, what you need to do is go and update your workflows to have FIN or FIN2 as you're pulling it into the test script. Then the fourth step would be then to add your scenarios to a test dashboard and confirm that the things pull in. So in this case, it's showing that the patient names are pulling in from the header. Additionally, inside the test script, it will pull in all the other fields that you populated. So here showing inside the test script now, and in black you can see that it pulls in the sex, and it pulled in the date of birth, and it pulled in the name fields, for example. The reason they're in black here is because these were ones where it was actually built into the content. In this case, where it's in blue, it's because these were ones where you went in and typed in this case, you put in state of New Hampshire into your header, and you pulled in to the details, employer. That was where I pulled in the employer information, and the employer information 2 for the address, and the employer information 3 for the phone number. We can go over this again if we get to the questions and if it wasn't clear. I'll also make these slides available afterwards. So then the last step then is for the things that you want to change dynamically during a round of testing. And the biggest example of those are going to be things like the FIN number, or the MRN, or the case number, or a session number, or a number that doesn't get generated until the round of testing. So in my test script, I have it set up, and in the test script, it says FIN like this in square brackets in blue. And again, that isn't part of the standard content, is because many tests scenarios have 2, 3, or even 4 fins in them. So we didn't want to force it in to always pull in the first fin. So by leaving it for you to put it in blue like this, that allows you to pull in either the first fin, second fin, or third fin, or whatever makes sense in that case. So in this scenario, this is what it looks like in the test script. You put in fin in square brackets. Then in the actual header details, I put in add the phone message encounter. So in this scenario, the first fin that they're doing is a phone message. So I actually typed in to fin 1 in the header, add phone message encounter. And then when the person clicks confirm during the round of testing, and it says to them, add the phone message encounter, it's supposed to cue them to go up to the header during the round of testing and then populate whatever that fin number is. So then when they go up and they update, when they go up and update the header and put in this fin number that was generated, it then populates every other place in the test script where that square bracket fin square bracket was. If you want to know what are all the scenario details that are currently built today, to get to that, you go to reports, you go to training materials, and then you go to this scenario header design workbook and open it up, and it tells you not only every field that's available, but it also, sorry, if people could go on mute, it would be appreciated. If you want to know if it's a repeating field or not, it tells you if it's repeating. It also tells you the length of the field. I know people are always wanting to put a whole bunch of information into the script highlights, but those fields are actually fixed length, and that document there will tell you how large each field is. Okay, and so then one of my last slides here is, how do you know if you have the content already available in your domain? A lot of the clients we've been working with already have that content in their domain. To determine whether or not you have the content, use the monocular search and search for square bracket, patient name square bracket, and if it returns results to you, it means you have that content there. If you do this search and it comes back with nothing, it means that your site hasn't pulled that content in from global yet. And so to pull that content in from global, what you would do is you would create a separate project, call it scenario details or whatever you want to call it, and search for the content by searching for square bracket patient name or square bracket social security number or sex or primary care physician. Those are the main ones where we built it right into the task, and then bring those into your domain, and that will then make them available to you once you merge that project. Okay, so if we go over now to TransIT. Okay, so here I am in this demo domain, and I'll show what I just talked about first. So if I want to say, does this client organization have the task available for me to use? I'm going to search on patient name in square brackets, and it returns these results. So there's 3 pages worth or 300 tasks that have this in it already. And if we go in and we look at one of these tasks, you can see here, this one has patient name in it in these 2 locations. And so if I type the patient name into the header, it means when I use this task in a test script, it's going to automatically populate that information in there. Okay. If we go and look over at the testing dashboard that I have set up here, you can see again that it's pulling in the patient name. And because this is the demo domain for us, this actually does have that new content in. So if I click view over here in the header, and then if I click edit details, and I say, okay, I don't want to display the patient name on the dashboard, I actually want to display the MRN, and save that. Then you can see it says up here that it's going to display MRN. You can see I have the MRN populated, and if I go back to the dashboard now, it's now showing the MRN number there. So that's where I was saying, if during the first week of testing, you're largely doing your clinical testing and you want it to say the patient name there, you can. But then at any time during the round of testing, you can actually update it to pull in the MRN or the FIN or whatever else it is you would like to pull in there. So that is what I had planned to show today. I'm going to open it up now if anybody has any questions with regards to this new functionality. Okay, so either I did an awesome job explaining it. So I hope people understand, like, the reason we call it the power of scenario header details is this really is going to save you time updating your test scripts. So I know we've worked with quite a few of the clients already to start them down the path of using this new functionality, but you will find that once you start using it, it does really save you time in the test script maintenance. Okay, if there's no questions about this functionality, I will ask before we close the call if anybody has requests for the next Lunch and Learn, and that would save you emailing Ange or emailing the support number or email address.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you very much. Okay, so there's the support phone number and there's the support email address. If anybody has additional topics that they'd like, the plan would be to have the November meeting early in November so that December meeting early in December so that it doesn't interfere with Christmas and the holidays.
All righty.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Have a great
you.
day.
Thank you. You as well.
Thank you.